And so really, for me, it's to paint that picture that we've seen great advancement. Right now, we are talking about how, we're talking about fundraising, we're talking about funding, we're talking about multi-sector, multi-year funding for RLOs. We're talking about how do we become collaborators and not competitors. We're talking about why it's important to have refugee voices in all systems and in all processes about refugees. And we're also talking about it's important that refugee engagement and RLO engagement is not a one-way traffic kind of engagement. It's not always refugees being asked for feedback, but it's more of all of us together and contributing together. Now, I'll give one or two things that I feel like are important for me in terms of building a perspective to this, of what we've learned. And one of it is narratives. Narratives, as you all know, are stories or really things that can be based on how people view things. And we all have different narratives. But we have to understand or to remember that narratives play a big role in how people view certain things or have perspectives or perception about things. And so, if you think about just refugees generally, whether it's talking about self-reliance or talking about engagement, there are certain narratives that are within the space. And these narratives can be negative. And often the reason why these narratives are negative is because we are not able to shape them, or we've not been able to shape how we want those stories to be. And the basis to that is really when RLOs or when refugee voices misses. When that voice is missing, then there'll be all these negative or misconceptions around RLOs or refugees. And so one of the key things that I really wanted to mention to us is that narratives really shape how people view certain things, and especially in the context of RLOs or context of refugee leaders, we have to tell our stories. We have to own the way we want to be viewed. We have to create that narrative that shows the value of refugee voices. We want to have a system or an ecosystem that doesn't see refugees as a burden, that doesn't see RLO engagement as something not good, but we have to create narratives that really speak to why it is important. And the only way to do that is when we are actually the owners of that narratives. So we need to be able to influence the way RLOs and refugees are able to get this narrative around that. We also need to remember that our narratives can shape how policies are actually figured or formed. So thinking about the funding policies, or thinking about even generally the refugee space or refugee self-reliance, it is our stories or how we relate to things and we put them out there in a way that's understanding, that then can help inform those policies. Because when there's no narratives or there's no way that we are actually speaking about our issues, then you'll find that there'll be a misconception. Really, there'll not be that actual reality of what refugees are facing or why they think they need to be included. So for me, is to say that we've come a long way, looking 5 years ago, and I think even to the bedrock of this conversation today, that we've had a very intensive planning session where RLOs have co-designed this process. And we're all coming here to see, well, this is a great chance for all of us to be in a space where we're able to collaborate together, we're able to see ourselves as one and see ourselves as being able to actually change the situation. And I also want to add that when refugees have that meaningful engagement, which I think from the first day to today we've said that it is not just about feedback, then it means that it will be really a good chance to really make sure that anything about refugees is actually influenced by refugees. And this is at the bedrock. This is at the foundation. So allow me to stop there, but if I had a chance, I would speak more. But to build on that and to build on more perspectives, so I'll ask one of our colleagues. She's called Ayan. Ayan comes from Tawakal Youth Organization. She'll be speaking more on their RLO formation story and a bit of what they do, and I think that will build a perspective to this conversation of RLO engagement and RLO support and refugee engagement. So without any further ado, I want us to welcome Ayan. So karibu Ayan. Let's clap for Ayan as she takes stage.
Thank you, Eshimwe. I wasn't waiting to be called, and my name is Ayan Mohammed Yusuf. I'm a Somali refugee based here in Nairobi. I came here when I was around 5 years, so I'm 24 years here. So actually, it's an honor to introduce Tawakal. Tawakal RLO is being established around 2015 and actually registered. And it's located in the heart of Eastleigh, called 5th Street, Nairobi, Kenya. So if I will talk about Tawakal is a grassroots in RLO that empower refugees and provide a safe space to acquire skills on making them shift their position from being victim of circumstance to a productive member of a society. So, and establishment is very crucial. When we talk about and what Tawakal does is we provide various programs like psychosocial support, of which the depression, the trauma that a refugee actually went through. So we provide a psychosocial support for them, growing skills, self-development, self-resilience, and culture programs like shaping the culture norms and the culture that affecting the community itself. So when I talk about establishment, I know ensuring the voices and the perspectives of a refugee are central and in decision-making process and to make their needs addressed effectively. So when you had RLO is not a personal use, is not for maybe come for a forum like this and maybe get some little reimbursement or food. It's about you have back there a society who is waiting, who actually some of them are not being heard and they don't have the chances of coming here and raise their issues. So we gather information, things and issues that the Cushitic refugees facing. Let's say in Eastleigh, we have Ethiopians, Oromos, and Somalis. So standing here, I'm a reflect of Ethiopian girl, Somali, and Oromo woman. So when we talk about the aim, first in ensuring the social integration among the refugees and Ethiopians and are promoted through positive dialogues and acceptance of culture. You see now we came from far areas, far countries, knowing that if I come to Kenya, maybe I can get married to a Rwandan guy. Maybe my family should accept his culture. So the culture acceptance should be there. So, and our aim is to overcome poverty, good health, psychosocial well-being, and to regain lost confidence from the refugees. So if I'll talk maybe challenges or the background of a refugee community or an RLO is, for many refugees, fleeing from one country to another country comes with and adapting to our new culture comes with a lot of challenges that range from stigma, language barrier, lack of support in finding homes, maybe in education. So actually, being a refugee and extend beyond mere adoption, it's so traumatic. Some actually, it's a form of sexual exploitation, abuse, and restricted and gender roles that's been presented in the families and in the society. We have actually in women, if I talk about a woman, is that in Cushaitic women, they have these common issues. Actually, it's not limited to them, but most of them is isolation from social isolation and exclusion. You can find maybe a girl who is in 8th Street, Eastleigh, doesn't even, maybe 10 years, 15 years, doesn't even know where is 9th Street is. She stays at home till she gets married. It's like you are blindfolded. You can't go out, you can't do anything. So we are the voice to maybe people to come out, be independent, and say whatever they maybe want to say. The other problem is identity challenges that are being presented in the culture and religion and religious perspectives. Lack of education, mental health challenges. So if I want to talk about the role of an RLO first is very vital, and our role is not only to maybe to take some funds, but as a refugee leaders, what can we do to address the issues that our people is facing? How can we be so consistent on ensuring other people problems have been heard by maybe the NGOs or INGOs? So coming here together, that shows us that maybe we want to change something, and maybe we'll have a fruitful solutions. And later on, I myself will go there, present what we were talking about, maybe what's the way forward, what will we do, maybe addressing, let's say, I don't have, this is not my personal issues, I don't have issues of documentation, I have all my document. What about those who actually are out there, lack of document, lack of birth certificate, their kids are not enrolling to schools? What should I do to address that issues by coming and engaging and networking? Thank you very much. Over to you, Ishimwe.